They say that the only thing worse than failing is not trying in the first place. I say that's said by people who are trying to protect their egos because they failed. I guess that puts me in the same camp as them, huh? The GMTK Game Jam ran from August 16th to August 20th. In the first ever 96-hour jam, as the usual time for this jam is 48 hours. The theme of the jam was
built to scale,
which, honestly, I felt immediately good about. GMTK is usually really good at setting themes that can be used in multiple ways over multiple genres of games, but I believe this one to be the most open. The plan was simple. I went into this jam beforehand knowing that I wanted to slow down a bit and actually make some of those beginner-style games that they suggest everyone make. Because up until this point of my many years of making small games, I've never actually made any of those simple platformers or your arcade shooters. So the platformer was locked in the moment I saw this theme. Now, because I like making things more difficult for me, I decided that I wanted to be a bit cheeky with the theme, as I could have easily made a platformer where you can freely change your size, and that would have fit the theme perhaps better than what I ended up doing. Some of you who peruse my channel may know that I once made a game called Go Home Bat, a difficult fighting style game where you fly through terrain hoping not to fall down as you run out of energy. Nobody played the game, and those that did thought it was too difficult, so I thought that I would try my hand at remaking the game in a way that was more accessible to people just getting started. Because the planning of the game was done ahead of time for me, I was able to hop right into development, which I did a large portion of on stream. Follow me on Twitch, link in description. I actually took my philosophy for my FPS game into this jam. I wanted things to feel polished first before I continued developing features, so I spent a large amount of time working on the player feel. This was mistake number one, as game jams are super tight sprints of development. You should never focus on polishing right out the gate. You should have the prototype done as soon as possible. I worked on things such as the jumping mechanic, which uses a similar system to my previous fighting game, but instead follows your mouse and uses a perfect hit time system that you usually find in rhythm games. While past me works on the mechanics, let's check on the art I threw together for the player character.
Oh hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
I tightened the controls more and did some more visual polish, throwing together this easy to make tile sheet so I can make a simple test level. I did some playtests and I got back the result I was looking for. The controls were frustrating, but ultimately felt like the player was at fault when a mistake was made. Let's check back in on that art.
Yeah, boy.
Nice. Okay, so let's tweak the player character to be more fair and take away people's ability to fly forever if they only land perfects. Then I worked on this orb that you can jump on to give yourself a super jump similar to the one that you get when you jump off the ground. This lets people essentially do a double jump while also showing the player where I want them to go. This was my second mistake, as I put a lot of time and effort into the idea rather than playtesting the mechanic to see if it was a good fit. Next thing I know, it's midnight on Monday and the jam ends the next day on Tuesday at 11 AM. I work the next day and I have to get the game finished and uploaded ASAP. One problem though, I haven't made the map, so I rushed the next 4 hours throwing together a map with no feedback on what was bad about it. I could do it, so that means others can do it too, right? Mistake number 3. I know the controls. I know what to expect and how to do it the exact perfect way. But I don't have time to worry about that. This needs to go up now. Finally, the game is uploaded and I pass out for the next day. Submissions close and ratings start. I finish my day at work and come home to stream some of the games. Seriously, link in the description. Go, go, go. All the while, feedback is coming in on my game, and it's not good. I fell back into the same issue that Go Home Bat had. The game was too difficult and demanded pixel-perfect jumps and controls right out of the gate. While most of my feedback that I got was actually really favorable towards the control of the character, my focus on the polish didn't go to waste. People really liked how the character felt and looked, but the one thing they couldn't do was actually play the game. I added this little tutorial that quickly taught them the controls, and that tutorial actually left out a lot of information on what to do. Most people couldn't even land the first jump onto the platform right at the beginning. So as it sits, people want to play the game. They love the look and love the feel, minus a bit of finicky, unliked aspect of the controls. I sent the game to my one friend GCat, link in description, please, what are you waiting for? And she played it for a bit on stream. She actually made it to the next section of the tutorial, but then immediately got frustrated and gave up.
Okay, anyway.
She doesn't normally play games like this, so I actually got my hopes up that anyone who does regularly play platformers would fare better, but oh how I was so wrong. That week flashed by in a blur. Mark Brown was streaming the games occasionally and I numbly tuned into each one. Every single time he'd go through a list of games and I both eagerly awaited seeing mine and dreaded it at the same time. Finally, it happens. He opens up my game live in front of thousands. Says that the character looks inspired off his little robot.
So, I mean, it looks very much like my character, not that I invented the concept of a robot head.
In retrospect, yeah it does. And then the worst thing happens. He starts moving around, pressing buttons and trying the character out. The bad news is, I built my tutorial just to check for any input before moving on to the next part. And while he's moving around, he completely skips the part telling him how to jump. After a while, he fumbles onto the jump control and it's pretty intuitive from there, but he was still left confused for a little bit. Then, as he tries to continue, he fails every jump. He keeps on bouncing around and no matter what, he just can't seem to land the second super jump to get onto the platform. After a minute, he just gives up and moves on to feedback.
Man, this is hard. I agree. Getting the super jump with Flames and All seems to need pixel perfect timing, and since you not only have to use the mouse to jump, but also set the direction to jump, it's super hard to get 2 perfect jumps in a row. Pretty much true. I think there's a good game here, but you've made it so blooming difficult that no one's able to get into it and see what makes your game fun.
And yeah, that left me pretty heartbroken. A good game is in here somewhere, but it's too difficult for people to find out. This was my first game jam where I was able to successfully make a completed, polished game. A massive accomplishment for me, but unfortunately the game was too difficult for people to see that. Of course, there's a lot to take away here. Mark Brown left me with the advice that when it comes to fighting style games, they need to ease people into the levels. The levels are the most important part. The controls can be a bit finicky as long as the level design itself is good. The lessons that came after that were the teachings of time management. All things considered, I spent my time decently well, but that last 4-hour crunch to make the entire level drained me of everything I had left, especially since I had to wake up 3 hours later for work. So for the future, I need to focus more on spending my time appropriately, make the prototype quicker so I can get more playtesting done faster. Next, I learned that I need to do a better job at listening to my playtesters, getting their feedback on absolutely everything. Make level mockups first and see how it feels to play the character in a level that's closer to the finalized version. Finally, I learned the value of rest. The jam started out great with a lot of energy and motivation, but as it went on, I found myself having very little time or energy to keep working on key aspects. In the future, I should remember to take breaks, eat, and sleep so that the quality of the product doesn't get ruined in my sleep-deprived crunch state. So, was this a failure? Yes and no. The results of the jam were actually very favorable towards me. I placed 1,817th overall, getting a majority 3-star rating across the board, which actually leaves me in the top 50% as there were over 7,000 game submissions. My overall place and the lessons I learned leave me feeling like this jam was overall a success despite my failings. I learned a lot from doing this jam, and it let me go back into the game with hope and direction for what needed to be fixed. So where does that leave us? Well, I went back and addressed a lot of the major issues that people had pointed out. I made a map that starts out easy and actively ramps up into the difficult sections. And all that is available now on my itch page that you can play in your browser completely for free. You can go play the game now and tell me what you think. If enough people play and comment that they want more, I'll consider turning it into a full polished release. Then we can force our favorite streamers to play and scream until their hair falls out. That's all for me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and share this with your friends who are thinking about torturing themselves with a game jam. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!